Well, that's me just back from my morning walk, and I happened to find something on my walk this morning. I saw just this line on the floor, wasn't sure what it was. It's a book, a children's book, The Night Who Said No. And on the back it says, this book is a gift for every primary 3 child in Scotland as part of the Read Right campaign. So, basically come from the government. Now, this book is frozen solid at the moment, as you can see, so I can't open the pages. But what I'm going to do is take a guess at what the story is. My guess is that this knight said no, basically, to being a knight. That would be to being brave and honourable and maybe entering into battle in defence of a good cause, things that might be associated with some masculine qualities to some extent. And my guess is going to be that this knight says no to all of that. So, when the book's defrosted, we can see if I'm right. Well, the book's spent a few hours on the radiator. You can see it's gone all crinkly. Well, let's have a look at it. The Knight Who Said No. The Knight Who Said No. The Knight Who Said No. Right, so I have to say, I do like the illustrations in this book. They're very good, aren't they? So, off we go. Once inside a castle lived a little knight called Ned, who always picked his toes up and who always made his bed. Ned, in all the village, was the one and only child. He was polite and kind and helpful. He nodded and he smiled. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Well done, Ned. When asked to do the washing up, yes is what he said. When asked to fetch the firewood, he would rush off to the shed. When asked to pick the cabbages, Ned wouldn't whine or stress. He always answered straight away and always answered yes. Right, Ned's doing very well. And when each night the dragon came sweeping through the sky, the knights would holler, "Get inside." And yes, Ned would reply. Well, that's good. All the adults are saying, this is a real danger. You need to be very careful here to avoid the danger. And Ned said yes, and did as he was told. This is great. This happened each and every night. The dragons circled down and frightened all the grown-ups as she swept around the town. They'd rush inside their cottages. Phew, that was close, they'd say. But Ned would watch the dragon as she slowly flew away. He thought he heard the dragon sigh and give a little groan. Ned wondered, is she just like me? Perhaps she's all alone. But then Ned's parents said good night and told him, "Night time, Ned." And what would Ned say? Yes, of course. And off he'd go to bed. Until the morning, Ned awoke and something strange occurred. When his mum said, "Son, please fetch the milk," Ned found a different word. He felt quite odd, all hot inside and cross from top to toe. He shook his head from side to side, and then Ned answered, "No." His mum was shocked. She stood and stared. As Dad came in to say, "Will you help me, Ned, my lad? The tournament's today." "Now can you find my shield?" he asked, "my arrow and my bow." But Ned still felt all prickly, and so he answered, "No." Well, that was just the start of it. The nose came thick and fast. "No," Ted told the butcher when he wanted to get past. "No," Ted told the baker when she wanted Ned to pay. "No," Ted told the fisherman, "we don't want fish today." His parents couldn't understand what had got into Ned. They called him in. "It's time for tea." But no, Ned shook his head. So from being very obedient, Ned now is just arguing with everyone, being completely disobedient. I wonder how that's going to work out for him. Suddenly Ned heard a whoosh and saw a flash of light. The dragon with her shiny teeth came soaring through the night. The knights all shouted, "Get inside." "Quick, hurry, Ned," they said. All right, what's going to happen here? So we've got a child who's got into the habit of refusing instructions, defying instructions from adults, and it now comes to an instruction about safety. What's the moral of the story going to be? What happens when Ned ignores the instruction from the adults about safety? Anyway, Ned clenched up his fists so tight. "No!" yelled Ned. The dragon circled in the sky, then landed on the ground. Hands on hips, Ned waited, but the dragon made no sound. So Ned walked slowly up to her and poked her on the toe. "You're supposed to roar," Ned said. The dragon whispered, "No, I'm so fed up of roaring and I'm rather lonely too. I wonder," sniffed the dragon, "if there's room to stay with you." Ned looked quite uncertain, and he nearly answered no. But when he saw the dragon's tears, his cross began to go. He didn't feel so prickly, his anger was no more. He felt a little brighter, sort of lighter than before. Then Ned looked at the dragon, trying hard to impress, and thought, there's just one thing to say. He told the dragon, yes. The dragon loved her brand new home. She loved to play with Ned. She even loved her jobs, like fetching firewood from the shed. And if Ned felt bad-tempered, which he did once in a while, he'd go and find the dragon, who could always make him smile. Then sometimes Ned would hear a shout of bedtime from below, and mostly Ned would answer yes, but sometimes Ned said no. So there we are. Now you might say, oh, they're not deliberately really giving these messages, you're reading too much into it. But look at the story in this one. It's pretty similar to the story in Brenda the Sheep that I spoke about in another video, also distributed by the government. It's part of the blob. It's the same thinking coming through. Also, the Scottish Book Trust a couple of years ago gave this book out for every high school student in Scotland called Rebel. And the message of it was, I made a video about it, is that rebelling is good. So, I mean, why does the Scottish government want to be putting this message out? Because of their children's rights philosophy. They genuinely believe that adult authority is a bad thing, and what's best for children is to liberate them from adult authority. So the messages of the knight who said no. Number 1, rebel. Say no to parents or to adults, and that's okay. And that's a deliberate message in line with the message they presented through other books as well. They really seem to believe that the route to happy kids, harmonious families, and great schools is through rebellion. Right, number 2. The other message is, dangers are not really dangers. Ignore adult warnings. Now, do they really mean this? Have they really thought this through? I mean, you've got to expect probably not, but I don't know. I mean, you could have written the story where the kid gets in the habit of ignoring adult warnings or parental warnings, then gets their comeuppance. That could have been the story, couldn't it? But oh no, it's the opposite. Ignoring the parents has positive consequences. Now let's imagine these little kids all over Scotland hearing this story, and then some of them, their parents might say, don't ride your bike on the road. And what happens next? What has happened already. Now, it will be impossible to get evidence about this. You can never pin down responsibility on this book as the cause of an accident or some sort of mishap involving a child, or of this whole message. You can't analyse it scientifically, but just common sense tells us that there's a real danger there. Right, message number 3. Make friends with people who adults say are dangerous, and that will just work out fine. Now you may say, don't be so stupid, it's a dragon, not a person. It's a very anthropomorphic dragon that interacts like a person. This is the same message as Brenda the Sheep. Again, have they really thought it through? I sort of suspect not. What are they thinking though? What are they thinking? I think maybe they're thinking something along the lines of, lots of parents, for example, let's say, are racists. So they'll be saying, oh, keep away from those, whatever, Pakistani kids, they're really bad. And then the kids will say, no, I'm going to try and make friends with them in any case. And so on the basis of that sort of suspicion, they go down the line of sort of undermining parental authority in general. I mean, is that right? It's the best I can do. If they're thinking something else, please enlighten me. Right, message number 4. Knights and dragons. What's that about normally? The normal story is, evil dragon kidnaps fair maiden. Knight bravely slays dragon and rescues said maiden. They get married and live happily ever after. Now, my prediction at the beginning, I said the basic message would be the knight refuses to take this sort of role and to fight the dragon. But he didn't even need to refuse, because that sort of thought was completely absent from the story. It's been completely subverted. However, in life, there are dragons, and they do need fighting, sometimes physically, and it often is a matter of good versus evil. Now, when children read this sort of books, maybe particularly boys, they align themselves with the brave knight fighting evil, and that can be an aspect of positive character development. But in this, someone who is going to fight the dragon, well, they'd feel a bit stupid. when you could have made friends in any case. So just to say, the message, don't be frightened by things, that's a good message to teach kids. Sometimes you're frightened of things and it turns out you shouldn't have been. Absolutely fine. The other message that could be positive is you can make friends with people that actually you didn't think you'd be able to make friends with. That's a good message as well. But what's going on in this book is it's saying don't be frightened and make friends against adult advice. That's the key thing. It's against parents' advice. I wasn't really intending to make another video about a children's book, but this one I found lying frozen at my feet, so I thought I'd have a look at it. And it was interesting. So here's another case of the way the Scottish Government is delivering messages on an industrial scale to the children of Scotland, and those messages are unhelpful. Right, thanks for watching.